Welcome back, everybody, to the Real Wealth Solutions podcast. Joining me today as a co-host, we have the lovely Kim Scully from the upstairs bedroom. Darren is on, can we say it to the world? I don't know.
Sure. He's on grandpa duty.
He's on grandpa duty on Mondays now, so that's pretty cool. Joining us today, we have Kelly Stinson and Anselmo Torres III.
Except it's not Kelly.
Yeah, we'll do Leslie.
Let's redo it.
Sorry.
I mean, I wish I was
we don't
Kelly.
have to redo it because I wrote it down. It's Leslie. Sorry. Leslie, what's your last name?
Pollard.
Okay. Thanks, Leslie. From SAS, Sustainability Solutions. They are a company out of Dallas-Fort Worth area, specializing in water efficiency and cost savings for multifamily and other asset classes within multifamily. And I'll stop trying to explain it for you. Welcome to the show. Appreciate your time. Let's just dive right in. What is SAS doing for us out there?
Well, thank you for that introduction.
Yes, thank you.
And so Sustainability Solutions, we are a water conservation service provider. We are a nationwide water conservation service provider. So we work with owners, investors like yourselves that are looking to reduce that water and sewer expense. So typically we are reducing that expense anywhere from 30 to 60%. And we do that through the installation of ultra high efficiency toilets, shower heads, and aerators. So our goal is to really get rid of all those inefficient toilet, shower heads, and aerators that are on properties, and replace them with ultra high efficiency toilet, shower heads, and aerators. And that's how we achieve that reduction in consumption, which translates over to the reduction in your water and sewer expense.
I'm going to ask a quick technical question.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with a toilet and a shower, not
Awesome.
familiar with an aerator.
No,
What exactly is an aerator?
Thank you for asking that question. So on your bathroom faucet and your kitchen faucet, at the very tip of that faucet is an aerator, right? That you could unscrew and replace it with a more efficient one.
Okay.
So
Got it.
that is an aerator.
Okay. Thank you.
It's a great question. I don't know if we
Yeah.
have one laying around.
Best example I can think of is whenever you turn your water faucet on when you're brushing your teeth and you just see the water just pouring. You know, just we do a lot of water wasting when we're brushing our teeth or
Oh,
whatever. So it's just something that'll go on there to help slow it down a little bit.
Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
That's replaceable without now we're completely on a tangent about the specific fixture, but that's fine. That's replaceable without replacing the entire fixture, though.
Absolutely. Yeah. So that's one of the reasons why we do that is, you know, on a lot of these multifamily properties, you don't have to replace the whole fixture itself, the whole bathroom faucet, the whole, kitchen faucet. It's just that aerator, and it's really simple to do. So we unscrew them, put in ours that are much more efficient, and we're good to go.
And tell them about the technology about them. That's the cool part. I feel like people would notice if you came in and installed some of these items and irritate the tenants. But
Sure.
I feel like our product is something that they're not going to.
So they're pressure compensated, right? So even though it is restricting the water, the amount of water that's flowing through the aerator, it's pressure compensated. So it still feels like there's a lot of pressure coming out, just using less water. Now, typically in like bathrooms specifically, we use anywhere from like a 0.5 gallon per minute to a 1.0 gallon per minute. And you're really only just brushing your teeth or, washing your mouth, something really simple. In the kitchens, we usually do like a 1.5 gallon per minute. And that's where you're, filling up a bowl for water, things like that.
Now, are these adjustable on the piece itself, or is the piece what's the 0.5, 1.5?
Yes. So the piece is what's actually restricting it to that 0.5 or 1.0.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're not adjustable.
Right.
Which is good, because the last thing we want is tenants adjusting it to the highest level, because that will
defeat
happen.
the whole purpose. Sure.
Absolutely.
Same with the shower heads. The shower heads are unique in their design and their capabilities. And so we're able to go in there and install the shower head, and the tenant's not going to see a huge difference. They're not going to complain. They're not going to be upset or want to take it off because they're, you know, the way that they're engineered are top of the line to where that pressure system feels, you know, it's not a big difference.
And because we do is we replace the shower heads on properties across the US. It's interesting. One of the quickest things, or one of the things that irritates residents the most, is when you mess with their shower head.
Yeah.
Like that is one thing that it is precious to them. We can touch their toilets all day, their aerators all day, but there's
That
people that are
shower.
very particular about their shower head.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but toilets, plumbing fixtures in general have gotten more efficient over the past couple decades, just as a course of regular, either, I don't know if it was regulation necessarily, or there's certainly a lot more awareness of the need to save water. But you guys actually go a little bit further by using the most efficient, specifically on the toilet side of it, use of water available. Is that
Yes,
part
that
of
is,
the difference? Is like I can go to Lowe's and get a 1.38
yes.
and
So
throw
the
it
EPA
down.
standard right now is 1.6. So you can't go out and buy anything or install anything above a 1.6 on a toilet, right? So, and our toilets, the ones that we use, are the Niagara 0.8 gallon per minute or gallon per flush. So it's, I mean, basically cutting it in half.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like you said, there are some EPA standards on you know, what is allowed. So right now, I believe it's 2.5 for the shower head. And we typically install like a 1.25 or what, I'm sorry, 1.28 or a 1.5 shower head.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it definitely helps to have all the laws kind of enforcing it. Creates, people have to adjust and buy more conservative or more efficient shower heads, toilets, aerators.
Mm-hmm.
But there's certain parts of the country that it's like in California. I mean, they're very strict out there about what you can install.
Oh, really? Just like as a matter of code?
Yes.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah,
I didn't
like,
realize that.
yeah, they're much stricter out there than they are, you know, other parts of the country.
Let's go back to the potential savings, because as an owner and somebody that is looking at my P&L on a regular basis, and just with the status of the market that returns have compressed a bit, there's a lot more attention to the expense side of things as a way to increase the value and return for any specific project. You know, 30 to 60% savings on a utility bill is not small change, especially at higher unit counts. So let's, you know, I was looking at the website. Let's look at the 3-step process that you guys kind of frame out there. I've got a 68 unit property in Mulvane, Kansas. This may not be completely hypothetical at this point. You know, and that may be something that we're looking to achieve is some additional savings on the sewer and water side. Hey guys, help me figure out if this is going to be a good project for us. What's step one?
So step one would be reach out to Leslie or myself and say, hey, you know, here's the property name, here's the property address, here's the unit mix. If you have a water or sewer bill available, send that over to us. And from just based off of that information, we can put together a very conservative proposal as to what that water savings would look like. So on that proposal, it would include the cost of the project. It would also include any savings that we would estimate year one based off of the information that you gave to us. And then it would also, based on the cap rate, we would project an asset value boost in year one. If all of that looks favorable and you want to take it to the next step, we would go out and do a full assessment on your property. During this full assessment, we are walking every single unit on the property, and we're documenting the fixture flow rates of your toilets, your shower heads, and your aerators. We're also documenting any front of the wall leaks that we may come across. I've been on almost 40,000 units for over 400 properties, and it blows my mind how many times I've come across unreported leaks that the residents just don't report. So we always want to document that, get that information over to you and your team so that they can fix those immediately. We're also documenting anything that may cause an issue during the install. So if it's a flooring issue, if it is an angle stop issue, we want to address all of that prior to us even sending our crews out to do the install. And that last step would be if you decide to move forward from there and actually do an install, we would go out, send our crews. Again, we are a nationwide service provider, so we have 13 crews that travel the country nationwide for us that are dedicated to this. And they typically do anywhere from 50 to 60 toilets per day. So on that property that you'd mentioned, we would be on and off within a week.
Okay. For the initial on-site inspection, what's your goal to get in and out of units for the initial assessment? If you're going to walk every unit, hey, let's get in and out of here within 10 minutes, because everybody wants to be conscious of their tenant's time, and it's just a logistics. It's not always the most straightforward thing to get a vendor into every unit super efficiently, just because we're all just people,
Absolutely, and especially with COVID going on right now, right?
Yeah, right.
We gotta be
Pile
much
that
more,
on.
we
Yeah.
got to be much more conscious of not only their time, but also the safety of the residents as well as the safety of our employees. So there's a lot of communication that gets done on the front side. So we want to make sure all the keys are pulled in advance. If there is somebody that's going to walk with us, with our staff, like maybe your maintenance, somebody from your maintenance team, that always helps. It just makes things much more efficient. But typically we are in and out of a unit anywhere from 2 to 5 minutes. And that all depends on how many bathrooms there are. So we do use an application that helps us capture all this technology or all this information. So we're not actually writing anything down. It's all capturing it through an app.
Oh, okay. Oh, good. I imagine that's a lot easier to consolidate it then too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then the reporting that we can capture immediately from that. It's all really real time that we can capture and get that report out to you pretty much as soon as we completed that last unit.
I think we are a very data rich company. And that's one thing that I really enjoy so far in this learning process is how much data we collect and how much data we're willing to provide to the end user, at the beginning of the job, during the install, and after, to be able to really see that the water conservation part of it, where you're starting to immediately save the money. And we don't want just to do one project with you and then shake hands and walk away. We want to wow you. We want you to see the benefit of it. And we want you to be a repeat customer where when you're purchasing these new properties, you're coming back to us because you've seen the value and it makes sense. So I think that's the one thing that he said is we offer in the initial, we offer a very conservative. It's very conservative based on, we haven't been on site. Sometimes there's toilets that are going to be of all different. There might be like a 3 to 5 gallon toilet in one. Yep. But then in the next one, there might be like a 1.6. So what we do is we just base it on the lower. So we come in at a lower gallon
per flush, yeah.
And then so that's what we put in our estimator whenever we're showing you the cost savings initially. So what we want to do is we want to come in very conservative and say this is what we think is going to happen. But then we actually come out there and we do find the leaks that he was talking about. One thing that I learned recently is, you can have a 1.6 gallon toilet that's efficient, but it has leaks. And so it could be a 1.6, but it's a 2.5 at the end of the day because it's got a constant leak. And, these tenants aren't paying. And I guess we forgot to really talk about our sweet spot. We typically work best in the B and C class type of apartments, that's where we can come in to help because it's typically where the owner is paying all the bills. So they don't care. Like you said, they don't report, you know, they don't have a need to, it's not coming out of their pocket. So when we can come in there and do those assessments on the property, our conservative, you know, proposal is going to be blown out of the water because that, I mean, there are leaks. And I think the toilets, the design, you want to tell them about like the design of our toilets?
Yeah, so a lot of the Niagara doesn't have a flapper. So it's a flapperless toilet, which on most of these older properties, right, these toilets that even the newer ones out there on the market, they still have flappers. And the typical lifespan of that flapper is almost 2 years. So if you're not replacing every one of those flappers within 2 years, you start to get that slow leak. And then you start to see that slow creep in your water bill where it's, you know, continually increasing. And you're just trying to figure out like what's going on here. It keeps going up and I don't know what's going on. So how do we figure this out? And it's typically attributed to that flapper. And the sad part is it's only like a $3-4 part.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's just, you got to take the time to get
To
it
do the
fixed,
preventative. And that's one thing that I like to ask investors when I first meet them is what's your preventative program around your toilets? And a lot of them are like,
Yeah. I was going to say, they usually go like,
What?
yeah. So not only does this save future, you know, maintenance, but I mean, it completely eliminates it. So you're saving future labor cost as well on having to replace the flappers because the design of this toilet. Another thing that I've learned recently is that, yes, could you go to Home Depot or Lowe's and go grab a toilet that says it's efficient and stick it in your, you know, your BC class property that's aged? You can, but we do this all day long. We're, you know, we want to be that expert for you. And I don't want to get into like the details because I'm going to get in over my head, but let's just say that there's some toilets out there that speak to be efficient. But when they're installed in these older properties with older plumbing, you know, the older plumbing.
So we always
Thank
like
you.
to say,
Yeah.
not all toilets are created equal.
Yeah.
And you know, because our toilets, the ones that we install, only use 0.8 gallons, and we are putting them on older properties where the plumbing is older. We get that concern that, hey, is this going to create more issues than it's going to actually solve?
is that the downline travel?
Correct.
That's the,
Yes. It's,
Delicately put, Greg.
yeah.
Yes.
We do talk toilets all day, so
Yes.
we hear it all.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I imagine.
But yeah, so it does have one of the furthest line carries in the industry.
that's
And
what I meant.
what that means is it gets the waste out of your apartment and into the sewer system where it belongs and not backing up anywhere in between, which is important.
Right. And I think, yeah, I think that's a great attraction to have somebody that's an expert in the field. I mean, sometimes you do things and you have unintended consequences
Right.
of I've done this. It's like, oh, you know,
Yeah.
sometimes you
Well,
paint
and
the
I-
wall and you're like, oh, now we got to change the flooring because the
Yeah,
wall doesn't
absolutely.
match the flooring. We probably just should have used a designer.
Yes.
When we do these assessments too, I've come across units, make readies, where the maintenance guys or girl just went out and bought the cheapest toilet just because, right? And
I feel like you're looking right at me.
no,
No judgment. No judgment.
yeah. I'm confident you'll reach out to Leslie here and say, hey, I
Yeah.
might need your guidance
Yeah.
on some things.
And that's what we want to be. We want to be on any project. And, you know, as far as what you said, our sweet spot is, I guess, back to it is BC class properties, 1990. So, and this is kind of an assumption you're making at this point, because you can say, oh, that property wouldn't be applicable for what we need. But let us take a look and we'll tell you if something makes sense or it doesn't, because we're not going to waste your time. And if it doesn't work and we can't show you the value, then, but we want to be that person that you slide us whatever you've got, just email it to us. Like you said, just the address. So we can look up the water rates. That's another part is we just want to be that 3-step person where you send us the address, the
Unimix.
The utility
you.
bill.
A unit
Yeah.
mix. I still haven't had enough coffee this morning. And then we'll make those assumptions based on what we see. And then we'll let you know quickly. I mean, within 24 hours, we can let you know if a property fits the bill.
Oh, wow. Oh,
Something
okay.
that strikes me too is in this, whatever we call it, post-COVID world, everybody's looking for different amenities and different things to attract people to their property. So even if you aren't necessarily as the owner paying that water bill, having that increased savings is something that you can market your property and say, hey, we can save you money on your water bill because we do these things. And look how cool we are because we're saving the planet because water is a limited resource.
Absolutely.
So I think
water is going to be the new gold eventually.
I
mean,
agree.
Unfortunately.
No, it's absolutely true. But I think combining those two things makes it appealing, even if you aren't paying the whole water bill.
Well, yeah,
One
because
of the-
I was just gonna say with the classic master metered building, and you might have RUBS, ratio utility back system. Is it system? What is
Billing.
S on RUB?
Billing,
Billing system.
yes.
Billing
Yeah,
system.
thanks. RUBS is just easier, I guess.
Yes.
I tried to help the people that don't know what it means, and I found that
Yeah.
I'm one of them. So if you're billing back using RUBS, you actually have the ability to be a leader in that you're charging less back in RUBS compared to your competitor because you have installed these things, and whatever, you never recapture all of it. That's kind of rare, but there's less that you would have to pay from the delta that you don't recapture.
Exactly. And if there was a silver lining with this whole pandemic, right? And you kind of alluded to this earlier, is investors, owners started looking at that expense line much closer, right? Hey, what can I do to make this part smaller so I don't have to pay as much? So that's where, and then the uncertainty of rent increases, right? How am I really going to get that 3 to 5% rent growth that I had projected in the middle of a pandemic?
And on top of that, you've got tons of people now at home using even
Yeah,
more
I was
water
just
than
thinking
before.
that. I'm like, that'd be
Mhm.
super interesting to see
Yeah.
how that changed now that the
So we
entire
saw,
family was not in
Oh,
the unit
absolutely.
for 8 hours a day, and now they
Yes.
are.
so we saw a 3 to 5 times increase in consumption starting in March, right?
Okay.
People were home.
Yeah, it makes
So
sense. Sure.
it was a 3 to 5 times increase in consumption.
Okay.
That's significant, especially on some of these. If the owner's paying, that's huge. That's going to be a huge expense on them. If the residents are paying,
Yeah.
they're concerned about rent, and now you throw on this, utility bill that's going to increase. So that was our goal, was to reach out to these investors, owners, help them out, especially during this trying time, and provide them a solution that, hey, here's how we can reduce that expense line. So that you can, still keep your investors happy,
Right.
keep the property cash flowing, and keep your residents happy as well.
And
Yeah, because
save the
no
planet.
doubt that.
And
Yeah, and
save
save
the planet.
because that
Yeah.
that increase may not revert back to the trending line that it was pre-COVID. So,
No.
and I think I could look at ours and see what we realized as an increase. It's that's the old expense creep. It's not so dramatic that it jumps out at you, but I'm sure it's there. And if you evaluated it, you would see it's adding up to a real number.
Yeah.
And what we've seen too is that investors are just getting smarter. I mean, there's things that maybe they never looked at before, but because of just the way of the world and trying to find different ways, like you said, to show that to their investors, to show the cash flow, they have to get creative. And water is just not something that a lot of people focused on in the past. And one of the things you asked too was about, is there certain areas that are better than others? Yes, there are definitely certain locations that have higher water usage that we focus on as far as targeting to try to help, because the ROI is going to make a lot more sense. But really, it's everywhere. Everywhere, the water rates are going up, and nobody really pays attention. But if you start taking the time to pay attention of your local water rates year after year, you'll see that they're increasing quite rapidly.
And they're going to continue to increase.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to continue to increase. I'm sure you see it on the news. It's, water lines busted.
Well, I mean, unfortunately, what you guys experienced there in Texas, there's a lot of infrastructure that is going to have to be rebuilt and probably have to be upgraded to another standard now.
Absolutely. And we've got to pay for it somehow, right?
Exactly.
And typically that's through a rate increase.
A rate increase.
Yeah,
rate increase. Sure, that makes sense.
And even looking at bills, sorry to interrupt you, even looking at bills, we've had, investors just send us a copy of their bill, and we found discrepancies on it for them. And they just don't have time to pay attention to that. So just letting us be that partner to even just check your utility bills and match it against the rates, that you've got on online. Your electric bills are something that you can negotiate, but your water bills are not something you're able to negotiate. So we've just even been able to provide that value to people, just as the scratch the surface.
Yeah, that was actually my question.
Mm-hmm.
Going back to the assessment side of it, what can you pick up just from looking at a utility bill that might be getting somebody that just pays their utility bill?
Yeah.
You're getting charged at the wrong. You're getting charged at residential versus commercial, or whatever the difference might be.
Absolutely. Yeah, we've seen that. So,
and a lot of times investors, owners will approach us because they just add 3% to their water bill every year in their plan, 3 to 5%. Well, what if we can reduce that expense by reducing your consumption? What could your property, or what should your property be consuming, as opposed to, just accepting the status quo of, hey, this is what it is. So my challenge is, hey, let us help reduce that consumption to help reduce that expense significantly.
Hey, it's Greg from Real Wealth Solutions. If you'd like to know more about our passive income opportunities, jump onto realwealth.solutions and hit that schedule a call button. We're always happy to talk about our multifamily and flip projects and to answer any questions you may have. Again, that's realwealth.solutions. We look forward to hearing from you. And now, back to the podcast.
Is great, but the way that whenever you come in and you install, whenever you do a full service turnkey, we come in as a turnkey provider and we install all of these new plumbing fixtures. We have the sensors as well.
Yes, we do have water sensors, water meter sensors that we can apply to a meter that usually within 2 weeks, it has AI built into it. So it understands the water consumption behaviors of our property. So after 2 weeks, if somebody leaves a toilet running, even if it's master metered, it will identify that increase in consumption in real time and send you an alert saying, hey, we've identified a 1.6 gallon per minute leak. This is what it's costing you based on the rates of your provider. So you have an idea of not only the consumption being lost, but also the dollar amount that's associated with that leak. So that is
that's huge.
That really handy.
And I had shared with Leslie and Kelly on a call previously, we had a real situation like that where we were doing some sweat equity and the meter reader guy just walked up and he's like, what's, unit 20, because it was separately metered. But he's like, yeah, unit 24 down there is just clocking. They've used whatever it was, 80,000 gallons in the past, whatever.
A whole lot.
Yeah.
And if we had not been there, and if, what the tenant had done is something broke and out of the shower head was just running. And his solution was just to throw a towel in the shower to keep the noise down to a minimum.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's
and if we hadn't been just standing there and the guy was nice enough to alert somebody about it, who knows how long that would have gone on. Do you have to be Wi-Fi enabled, or do you have to have some kind of other infrastructure to support the reporting?
It's via cell line. So it uses a LoRa signal.
Okay.
So it doesn't need Wi-Fi, which is one of the benefits that we enjoy about using these specific sensors. It does need a power source. So typically we can connect the power source, in the leasing office or like a maintenance shop or
Okay.
somewhere close to the sensors that are applied to the water meters. And it really is, it's like a bracelet that gets applied to the top of the meter. It's plug and play.
It looks like a wristband.
Yeah.
I mean, it really does.
Okay.
It fits on the meter.
Oh,
So
that's
it's really
cool.
easy to apply. And again, within 2 weeks, because it's capturing all that data in real time, we understand what the behaviors are of your property. And we refer to the golden hours of like 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. when a property's water consumption should typically be close to zero, if not zero. And what we've seen on a lot of these properties is there's a lot of consumption taking place, and it's like a roller coaster. We see it up and down because it provides data up to the minute. And typically what that is it's these toilets that are just refilling by themselves automatically overnight. So that consumption is just taking place over and over again between those hours of 2 to 6. When it's isolated, we can see, hey, this is actually what's kind of taking place on your property.
And what I wasn't aware of, and another thing that I learned, is that your sewer expense is going to be tied to your water expense. So if you are literally draining, I mean, if you're just letting it drain, you're paying on both ends of it.
Yep.
Which is just crazy. So I found that was pretty interesting. But the sensor,
a lot of places too that we look at, the sewer rates are much higher than the water rates.
Right.
Yes,
I think, yeah.
So there's different areas of the country where Atlanta is one example. Tulsa is another example, Tulsa, Oklahoma, where it's almost 3 times higher than what the water rate is. So our ability to impact that consumption, what's actually getting into the property, really translates over to what's actually going out of the property, and reducing that expenses.
And what we like to do too with the sensor is put it on before we do a project, so we can kind of see what's going on. And like I said, during and then after, and then for the first year after the project has been done and the sensor's been installed, we work with you, we watch it, we monitor it, we teach you, so we're able to, provide another level of service to you with the sensor, that you can have it and not use it. You can have it so you're not having to be so reaction.
And because nobody
Right.
likes getting that water bill 30 to 45 days after a really bad leak, right? Nobody wants to pay that extra $3,000, $4,000, whatever that is, because of a leak that was taking place on the property. So this is almost like an insurance policy, just to you can feel
and a
better
lot
at
of
night.
those can happen in crawl spaces and stuff too, where there's no intrusion into an occupied space, so nobody really knows it's happening until the bill comes.
Oh yeah.
We saw
Or
it
somebody
happening on a
reports
pool.
them. Oh yeah.
Cool.
Someone's
Just
pool was
leaking
just,
into the
their
ground.
auto fill was on, and it was just constantly kicking in because there was a leak going on. So we're able to identify that with the sensors, just to really be able to help you narrow down if there's something going on that's not obvious. You just think, oh, there's a leak, it's going to show, I'm going to be able to see it. And you're not always going to be able to see it. And again, people are busy. I mean, investors specifically, you're very, very busy, and focusing on your water bill is just not something that's top of mind. So this just really helps protect your investment.
Well, it makes me think of 2 things. The first thing is, I think sometimes community members are hesitant to report a leak because they feel like they'll have to pay for it. Right.
Oh, yeah.
So, I'm not going to say anything and then I don't have to pay for it. So I think that's part of it, catching it. And one of the things that we're really focused on is like controlling the clock, right? When we have a move out and a turnover and a move in, and this, I think, feeds back into that controlling the clock. If you can catch the leak early, you've controlled the clock on fixing it faster.
Absolutely. And we've seen people offer incentives or gift cards to, just to let the tenants know, hey, if you catch one, let us know. But I think the idea of our services and product is to not try to change the tenant's behavior. Right. Because you're just sometimes going to get tenants that don't care. Like you said, I mean, like your towel in the shower. So this type of service just allows you to take control, and it does not, depend on them changing. their behavior. So
Right. Or require them to change their
Yes.
behaviors, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Low impact
we,
on
we
them.
all want to save water, right? But if I tell your resident, hey, don't brush your teeth as much, or don't take a long shower, it's great in theory, but is it actually going to happen,
They're
right?
gonna be like,
So-
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Again, we're not changing any behaviors. We're just putting in a really high efficient product.
And the toilets are comfortable. They're a little bit taller than they're normally used to.
Yeah.
So it's not something we're going to come in and do a rip and replace of their old one, and they're going to be griping about it. They're actually they're really comfortable. They're going to like them.
That's one of the biggest questions we get during the installs is it going to be higher? Is it going to sit higher? And it is. They are ADA compliant, so it's nice, especially for some of the older residents that live on the property that are used to that toilet that sits really low. You know, this one sits higher, so it's just.
Yeah, I was wanting to move on to the installation process. So we decided we're going to move forward. You put together a plan. I'm picturing in my head somebody a crew rolls up with a box truck full of toilets.
Yes, it's like Christmas Eve, right?
And they just go to town on it, and a few days later they're gone. But besides just the regular toilet installations, and I think you mentioned this already, you're looking at the supply line, the supply valve. Some of those things, once you start taking it apart, they break. They're basically just defective in the open position or something like that. So that's part of your assessment as well. It's not just putting a toilet onto a wax ring. It's actually making sure that the supply lines to it are intact as well.
And that's one of the reasons why you want to engage us, right? Because that is a big project. A lot of things going to go wrong with water,
especially older properties.
Exactly. And some of those old PVC pipes, they get brittle over time. So if somebody on your on-site staff was going to be doing a big project like this, they may not be familiar with, how to fix a pipe that breaks all of a sudden and flooding a unit. Our teams are pros. They do this every day, all day. They come across all of those old pipes, those old fixtures, those old supply lines, so they know what to do when a situation like that pops up, which is not uncommon.
I can imagine you're running into some original copper. Oh, some units have been upgraded to PEX. Oh, here's some PVC. You're getting an inconsistent range of situations to deal with by unit.
Yes. And again, we're not doing these projects on properties that were built within the last 5 to 10 years. Most of the projects that we're doing they're on properties that are, 30, 40, sometimes older. So a lot of those, that valve that turns off the water on your toilet hasn't been turned off ever since that toilet was installed.
It's turned on once. Yeah.
Yeah. And, if we turn it off and then turn it back on, sometimes they do crack. So our teams are prepared to handle that situation. We have a QC on our team. So while everybody is doing the installs in the units, our QC, he's a member of our team, will actually go into every unit and check, hey, is the supply line back on? Is it flushing properly? Is it caulked around the toilet right? Is it, especially with the shower heads, if I turn on the shower head, is water spraying out the threads? The same thing with aerators. Is the aerator screwed on correctly? So again, once he leaves that unit, everything should be running super efficient, and there shouldn't be any leaks, any reason for a resident to call back and say, hey, I've got a leak in my unit, or something's missing or something's wrong.
And also we take, like I said, we're very data rich. So the QC is going to be taking notes. He's going to be documenting everything. So when we do come back to you at the end, we have an amazing operations team. So before the install, we get on the phone with you. We're very detailed about how we set up the dumpsters, where to set the dumpsters.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
We want to make sure that when we show up, that everybody's on board and everybody knows where we're going to be and how we're going to start it. Because we don't want to waste time, and we want to be as efficient as possible, and we don't want to interrupt the tenants. And then on the back end of it, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to have all of the data that we're able to provide you on that as well. So you'll be able to see it, you know, piece by piece.
So they're typically in and out of a unit. If it's like a 1 bathroom, within 20 to 30 units, they've taken out the old toilet and put in the new toilet, shower heads and aerators, and they're out of a unit.
Within 20, 30 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's on the high side. I mean, I've seen guys do it in 15 minutes and it blows my mind, and I have nothing but respect for them because they are throwing toilets on their back and walking down steps and then taking up a new one. And
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's not, you know, I've handled a few, a lot of times they're still full of water a little bit. I mean, it's not, it's, you know, it's not the 12-minute segment on This Old House every time.
Yeah.
It just goes beautifully without something, you know,
Going a little off topic.
going a little
off
yeah.
script.
Well, I mean, yeah, they have the experience where I'm now having to stop and get on YouTube and figure out what I got to do.
Yeah.
next.
Yeah.
And the benefit of us having our teams do it is because I can guarantee you, if you asked your maintenance guy or, you know, your staff to do that, they would probably do 3 or 4, but anything after that, they're like, no, this is too much. It's backbreaking work. You know, it's going to take forever.
Sure. Yeah. And it's just not in the scope of most maintenance teams, either self-managed or with third-party property management, to be able to dedicate enough people to get something done within a week of that kind of scale. It would happen over time.
And again, back to kudos to our operations team. I mean, that's why they want to make sure they have access to every location. So those, you know, the phone calls beforehand with the property management, the owner, whoever it needs to be. I mean, that we want to make sure that when we are there, we're doing the job and we're getting in and we're getting out. You know, we don't want to have to come back and report that, you know, 30% of them we weren't able to get into. So they do a phenomenal job of, you know, making sure all the obstacles are taken care of before we show up on site to do the install. So it works out pretty well.
Anything else you guys want to cover on the install side? And then I was going to jump to the monitor side because I thought
that's really it on the install. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the monitor side we touched on a bit already. That was the is there a name for it? The flow evaluator? Sounds like a good name. If you want to use that, go ahead.
So it is a company that we partnered up with called Alert Labs.
Oh, okay.
So my background, actually, how I got involved with sustainability solutions was I created a water monitoring software that was helping multifamily owners capture their water consumption and identify any increase in consumption in real time. So I started that almost 5-6 years ago, and through that company, came across sustainability solutions, really believed in what they were doing. So I said, hey, let's partner up. I think there's an opportunity for us to, again, as sustainability solutions, the last thing we want to do is install that last toilet and then just say, see you later, thank you, call us on the next one.
Yeah.
Because water conservation is something that I'm very passionate about. It's, hey, what else is out there that we can provide to an owner and investor to protect that property even after that last toilet was installed? So that's where the monitoring started to come into play, is, hey, let's look into the different resources out there. We've partnered up with an organization called Alert Labs that they have one of the easiest, and it's plug and play. It really is that easy to get things going. And the data that they're able to capture in real time, as well as the dashboard and the way they're able to present that information, is just top of the line in the industry.
And that's what we try to do as well to set ourselves apart from other people, is to be able to have that extra step to offer the end user using the sensors.
Sounds like the monitoring is a combination of alerts as needed for things going sideways, and then also a dashboard for just general observation and reporting. Okay, so you can look at it at will, and you'll also get a notification should something go outside of some kind of set parameters.
Yes, absolutely. So you kind of mentioned that Texas storm that happened a couple of weeks ago here in Texas. So we had these sensors installed on a lot of properties already. In real time, we were getting notifications about these lines that were busting, and we were able to not only notify the owner, but just give them the heads up, hey, here's what's happening on your property, so that they could get ahead of it and get ahead of any destruction before it got really, really bad. So that was nice. It really felt like, and a lot of those owners appreciated it because they were getting those notifications in real time.
And a lot of the owners were like, we should have done that earlier.
Yeah.
On the ones that didn't do it, that haven't done it yet. Yeah.
And the other thing too is, because it is real time, it doesn't care if it's 2:30 in the morning. You're going to get a text message and an email if there is an increase in consumption.
And so will we.
So will we. So
yeah.
It doesn't wait for convenient hours.
Yeah.
For you.
I was listening to a podcast and they were interviewing different people that were in Texas, and it struck me, like during the interview, like another pipe broke and nobody did anything about it. They just like went to the other room to continue the interview. And I'm like, what? And I was telling Greg, I'm like, what? Some people just don't even know where the shutoff is. So if you, as the owner, are getting the alert, you can get there to shut it off or reach out to them and tell them where the shutoff is. But
absolutely,
like I asked one of our kids that rents. I'm like, hey, do you know where the shutoff is for the water? And she's like, what? I'm like, okay, right.
Honestly, I didn't know until last week or 2 weeks ago. I had a quick lesson on, okay, where is our shutoff valve in our house? Okay, there it is.
Exactly.
Something you just don't think about. You're not, you don't proactively think to find that. So,
yep.
It's amazing how fast you can move when you need to get to the shutoff valve. I can vouch to that from personal experience.
Really?
How fast you can go over a handrail and into a crawl space. And 2 or 3 units to
find where that water is coming from.
Yeah, or to shut it off. But
so that real time alert
proactive
helps. Right. It definitely
proactive versus reactive.
Sure.
I mean, that's always a win-win, especially when it comes to water, as damaging as it can be.
Yeah, and just water is super destructive, right?
Oh yeah. We replaced subfloor on that.
Oh, you did?
The
one that.
Oh yeah. I mean, it turned into,
a lot.
And it can turn into a mold remediation thing. I mean, water is not a good thing.
Yeah.
Unless you're drinking it or bathing in it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So, I mean, this can all be done retroactively. It's like, oh man, I've got this property. I can call these guys. They can come do an evaluation. Of course, I'm seeing the side to this that it can be also done on the acquisition side. So can we talk a little bit about when to engage you? Because this could be actually just part of your business plan for properties that you are looking to buy. Because it can just be priced in and you can pro forma out the savings, and then you get a little bit clearer idea of the benefits and stuff before you even own the place. So
yes,
when do I engage you? When do you guys like to see people get in touch for an evaluation on a possible acquisition?
Whenever you're looking at a property that you're interested in, we would like to be that partner that you send us the information, whatever you've got. If it's just the T12 and the address, we can take that information, put together that conservative proposal based off the information we have. And then we can give you the confidence. I feel like what we do on that end is give you the confidence to see not only the reduction of your expenses, but also the asset boost. So when you do come and do a turnkey and you do, come in and change out those fixtures, not only are you going to see that huge decrease, but you will see in real numbers as well on our proposals what that asset boost is going to look like. So we've seen people that, it gives them the confidence to maybe go to best and final a little bit more than they typically would, because they have that confidence to be able to see the value of doing the project with us. So you could do the initial paper valuation. We're going to get copies of the utilities. You can see what's publicly available. I imagine you're available with enough lead time
to come in on the due diligence phase when you're doing
Mhm.
your property inspections, maybe getting other contractors on site. It's always nice to get everybody there at the
Yes.
same
Yeah.
time whenever possible. So it can be done as like, hey, April 11th, we're going to be in wherever doing a due diligence inspection. Do you have somebody available to do the on-site portion of
Right.
this to further?
We're always more than happy to explore that, and join you out on a property tour like that. Just to give you more confidence in not only, or even if we have to fine tune our proposal. Again, as Leslie mentioned, on that front side, we are super, super conservative. So that's typically what's happening is we are, what do they say? Under promising, over delivering, or what is it?
You had it right.
Yeah,
Promising,
there we go.
over delivering. There you go.
promise.
Under
There you
promise,
go.
over
There you go.
deliver.
Yes.
There we go.
Mhm.
So that's why we're seeing, even on some of these projects, above 60% reduction in their water and sewer expense. And sometimes that's due to just the inefficiency of the toilets that are on the property. All right. So even if you had 1.6 toilets on the property, because they've been there for 10, 15, 20, 30 years, I mean, I wish I was efficient as I was 10, 15 years ago. It's not the case. So the toilets definitely won't be as efficient as they were 10 to 15 years ago.
Well, I guess somebody on your due diligence team, if for some reason the schedule didn't work out, that you could be on site. I could just be the dedicated person as part of the tours, like take a picture of every toilet in unit, whatever, take a picture of every faucet. At least then you would have some visual evidence of what's going on. And that would probably be helpful in getting a more detailed evaluation.
You'd be surprised how often we get pictures of toilets, exactly like you just mentioned. They're doing the due diligence. They're, walking a property. They're considering if they want to put an offer on it or, go further. So they'll send us pictures saying, hey, take a look at this. Let me know. Is there an opportunity here? What do you see? So please send Leslie lots of pictures of toilets, shower heads, and everything.
Yes. I'm learning quickly how to identify.
Do you have like a special folder yet of all the really interesting ones?
Flashcards?
Look at this one has been like, wow.
Yeah, we should at this point.
We see it all. It's like,
I can imagine.
Wow, that's those pink toilets, those green toilets, the ones that have been there since the property was built in the 60s, 70s.
Well, yeah, this is totally off topic, but we looked at a flip and it had just an awesome retro bathroom with the round sinks and all kinds of angles and stuff. I'm like, I would buy it just for those things. They're probably terribly inefficient, but it had the cool look. Yeah, I was like, that can come back in style, maybe in a different color, but
maybe we'll start making some art of ours in pink and green just in case.
Just for fun.
Cool.
Yeah, but one of the things that you'd asked earlier, I think before we started, was what's the minimum? What is the as an investor? When do you think that you should engage us? And I guess the answer that Kelly taught me very early on was yes. I mean, we can help, and we might have to get creative how we help you. So it might be to where we partner with other investors in the area that are doing an install, and we can schedule it at the same time to be more efficient with that. Or if it's a property that is smaller, that's just, you just need our help with, we can do product only. So we can do that to where we can help you and just ship you the product. So we just always let us see. Don't just assume that, you're not big enough for us, but let us see what we can do to pull some other resources together and see what we can offer.
Yeah, that's a great idea, especially in those markets where it really is a more significant benefit than others to be able to team up with other owners, or maybe through a common property manager or something where they could go to their owners list and be like, hey, if we get to enough scale on this, we can work together and benefit. That's a great idea.
And we can start calling in that area, to some of the investors that we work with and let them know that we're, going to be doing an install and see if we can rally and get some other things working as well. So I would say, as far as, not understanding what works best for us is we won't know until we talk about it and see what you've got.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely reach out to us. Always, engage us, whether or not we can do product only, as Leslie mentioned, or if we can partner up with other installs in that area, or again, just provide you feedback. There's some that, have, 13 units that have said, hey, is my water bill high? What can I reduce it to? So just feedback like that, we can give them, based on our expertise and experience, can give them some feedback to help them out in the long run on that property.
Yeah.
What about the opposite, like new construction? If I'm going to become a developer, do you guys work with new construction, or is it only like older pieces that you're trying to upgrade?
Typically, it's not new construction because we want our products spec'd in at the very beginning. So on that new development, we would always want to maybe reach out to the GC or whoever's putting together the product. That's
right. You would be a partner with that. So it is something that you do, but you want to be in on the planning and the at the very beginning. Right. I'm sorry, my question wasn't clear. It wasn't like, hey, would you come in after I just built something? No, you would participate with the building of it. Okay.
Absolutely. And we don't do that often. The core of our business really is that B and C product.
Sure.
Anything built before 1995. And then I always say anything that hasn't had any major plumbing upgrades. So, a lot of these properties, they're looking for a value add opportunity, and that's where something like water conservation can help them achieve that value add.
And we also see too where people come in and spend lots of money doing bathroom renovations and they'll leave the toilets. I mean, a toilet's a toilet, unless they're the green or the pink, the retro ones. I mean, they're porcelain, and it's really hard to tell if a toilet's old or not based off, just looking at it. So we've seen people say, toilet's fine, leave that and just go ahead and upgrade everything else. So you'd be surprised what people assume is new that isn't new.
That isn't new. Yeah.
And even the toilets that are the, the new standard, like we said, if they're not doing preventative maintenance on the flappers, then, that toilet's that 5 years is 5 years old could be, almost up to a 3 gallon per flush toilet again, which is right back to where, they were trying to take that away. So.
Yep. Well, I'm sure that our property maintenance people are going to hear from us about flappers.
Well, yeah, I mean,
at the minimum, it seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
It does.
Well, I can see with the like a 2 or 3 year payback period, this works very well for buy and hold type people.
Absolutely.
But also even for people doing the syndications with like a 5-year hold, because you'll get that boost to the asset value by achieving the expense reduction. So
on average, we're seeing about a 12 to 18 month ROI on most of our
really?
projects.
Wow.
Okay.
There are certain markets that we're seeing like an 8 to 12 month ROI. Now that's really the perfect opportunity. That's a perfect storm. One, they have really high water and sewer rates. 2, they have really old fixtures. So when you add those two together, you're going to see that close to 60 and higher % reduction in their water and sewer expense combined with, that ROI of 8 to 12 months. So that's a perfect storm for us.
And that's where you put the little asterisk, results may vary.
Yeah, and that's where our proposals come in. The visual of our proposal, it's going to have the ROI on there, the conservative, and it's going to have, the asset boost conservatively shown on there. So you can see, what is this worth? Is this property worth it to us? And some of them are going to be, a very obvious yes, and some of them might not be, but that's where we like to come in and just take any opportunity you have and give you that feedback. And like I said, we can have it back to you within 24 hours. So if there is something on the market that you're interested in, that's the value that we want to be able to provide in the partnership with you.
Yeah, that's awesome, because it's hard to figure out how to put replacing toilets. I couldn't figure out how to put that on a spreadsheet myself to forward look it into the future. So
Yes.
let you guys do your job
Yes.
on that. You figured it out. So
We'll take that off your plate. You're busy
Well,
enough.
and that's not even to mention, the whole environmental piece of it that we've,
Yeah.
kind of hit on a little bit. I think that's super appealing. I mean, I'm not
Absolutely.
the spreadsheet person, but that whole.
So that's the part that I'm
Yeah.
really passionate about, right?
Yeah.
So is the, protecting the world's most valuable resource and, making sure that future generations have plenty of water. And again, so that's very important to us. And again, at the end of the day, it's a business for everybody. They all,
It is.
they want to make money. So we understand that part. So I think it's really hitting like a win-win-win for us, right? We save money, we save a lot of water, and we protect the environment for the long term. So
it feels pretty good every morning waking up knowing that you're doing some good out there.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No,
Yes.
I think it's super awesome. I mean, I don't think there's, this is me personally, in the world, I don't think there's enough of that. Like, how do we make it work? Cheapest isn't always best. How do we preserve and, make all of this livable for a long, long time?
yeah.
and it may become more of an expectation of the market, just as EV chargers are eventually going to be something I'm going to have to install on properties, because that is just the way things are changing. And it'll either be anticipated and expected by the market or possibly regulated. It'll just be a requirement to some extent. So
and there's a lot of renters that are more conscious of, what type of is the property interested in sustainability. And they make their choices based on that. So there is that renter out there, and that's why we want to help.
I mean, there's renters that rent because of sustainability, and they don't want a house. They don't want all that goes with it because of sustainability and how that works.
And there are investors out there that boast on the fact that they do water conservation projects, and they do attempt to make that part of their practice. So yeah, we see it's changing a lot of people's,
I think it'll go in, fits and starts, right? It'll go really, and then it'll go, and then it'll wait, and then it'll go, just like anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, all right, let's wrap it there. We're a little more than an hour in. I want to be conscious of everybody's time. Do you guys want to sum up or give us your quick contact information? Of course, we'll drop it in the show notes as well, but let us know, how do we get a hold of you guys?
Sure.
So I am super involved on LinkedIn. That's the best way to find me, Anselmo Torres on LinkedIn. You can also go to our website, sasconserve.com. There is a contact us form on there. Submit your information, and it'll get out to our team. And then Leslie, how do
Same with
they want to
me.
reach you?
I'm very heavy on LinkedIn as well. So you can find me, Leslie Pollard, and trying to show up every day, giving a little bit of information and education to people, and just really awareness to show about our product and our services and how we can help. So whatever's easiest to find us, we're here.
All right. Right on.
Very cool. Thank you.
Yeah. So some takeaways. If you can't figure out how to analyze this into whether or not it makes financial sense, let alone environmental sense, let somebody else do that for you.
Sure.
That's where SAS comes into play. So
no job is too small.
No.
No building is too small. I mean, they would like to look at everything.
Absolutely.
So
no area is not out of the question either.
There you go.
So,
yeah, nationwide.
Yeah, nationwide.
We haven't got that Hawaii project yet, but we're waiting. Fingers crossed.
Have you gotten an Alaska project yet?
Yeah, we got some Alaska connections.
No Alaska? Okay.
You can have Alaska. I'll take Hawaii.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's fair, honestly.
Yeah.
I think the Alaska portion gets the better deal out of that one. Maybe I'm partial. We'll leave it there. We want to thank you all for joining us here again on the Real Well Solutions podcast. If you found something valuable in this discussion, we appreciate and encourage you to share it with somebody who may benefit. And for Kim and Leslie and Anselmo.
Yeah.
Good job. Great job.
We appreciate your time, and we will see you all on the next episode.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.